think you have to set yourself apart in every way you can and just connecting, and you have to care about it.
Thanks for joining us on Outside the Box, where we talk through actionable strategies that help you generate more repeat, referral, and sphere of influence business. Referrals don't happen by accident. They happen on purpose. For those who don't know, my name is Chad Armbruster, CEO of BizBox. And alongside me, as always, is my co-host, full-time realtor, and son, Justin Armbruster.
Today, we have Chuck Honabach with Realty One Group Unlimited joining us all the way from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Chuck has been serving buyers and sellers in the Pennsylvania area since 2016 and has sold over 400 homes, resulting in over $150 million in sales. Chuck, thanks for joining us today.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it.
Chuck, how did you get into the real estate business?
Quite honestly, I am an entrepreneur at heart. I come from a family of business owners. My parents were very active in business, and I actually own 3 other companies besides doing real estate. But in 2016, I sold one of my properties at the beach. And I'd always talked to my partner and said, I feel like getting a real estate license in the beach area just because the value of property, good money-making strategy when I'm there on the weekends or my long weeks. Wasn't going to happen. But when I sold that one property, I decided I was going to nab my real estate license and start locally. It allowed me to step outside of my other businesses and allow those people to have upward mobility because, you know, when you're always there, you're kind of the ceiling. They can't rise. So that's what really created that, plus my own access of my own personal real estate, my own commercial real estate investing. And that's what really drove me into that. And I just love people. I love meeting people. I love seeing design. I mean, my home has been in a magazine at one point. And so that's always been something that's kind of entertained me. I like design. I like all of that thing. I love to be able to give people ideas when we're walking through homes and say, okay, I know you see this, but this is what you could do with this piece of property, you know, and try to turn that around because I feel like a lot of buyers today watch too much of the HGTV.
Oh yeah.
And they think they're walking into the perfect, the perfect floor plan, the perfect box, the perfect design, the perfect decor. You have to make it yourself. You need to make sure that the bones are there, the floor plan works for your family or you as an individual, and then you move from there. So that's kind of what got me into it, and I've enjoyed that piece of it.
So you own other businesses. You did that first and then got into real estate. And
that is correct.
That.
And
Gotcha.
I still own those still own those businesses.
Are you still involved in those or outside of an ownership, or is it more of they operate and your big picture stuff?
I am still slightly involved. I would say they probably see me 3 or 4 times a week. I pop in, get kind of the buzz, the background buzz that's going on, throw my opinion in. But I wouldn't say I'm definitely not in the day-to-day operations of any of them anymore.
Yeah. Do they complement at all what you're doing in real estate, or is just something just completely different?
One of the businesses can overlay. One of my companies is a facility maintenance company. So it does have the ability to help inside of the real estate aspect. But my other business they're in fitness and family entertainment.
Oh, fitness.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So. Well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know necessarily if all realtors are entrepreneurs, but I mean, they're all business owners. So
correct.
I don't know whether or not.
I have a similar story. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, growing up with this guy, owning businesses. I wanted to own a business my entire life, but it's easy to say that and not have an idea or, a service. And so I found myself getting into real estate because I wanted to own my own business. I love people, want to be with people, but how do I combine those? It's like, well, I can sell real estate. It just happens to be the vehicle that I use to be with people and own my own business.
Right. No, I get it.
So Chuck, what's one habit or routine that's helped you kind of consistently stay in front of your sphere of influence and help you generate repeat and referral business?
First off, you got to stay engaged. One of the things that I find in this particular industry, as you said, Justin, you got into it, you wanted your own business. I did say the name right, correct, Justin?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, just making sure.
Nope.
I have a short-term memory. But people get in this business because they want to be in business, but they don't realize that business is not going to just come to you. You have to work a business. You have to get up in the morning. You have to have a plan. You have to have an agenda. And so for me, it's just constantly thinking, how can I be in front of people? And I also understand that I need to spend money to make money. And I think that is the biggest misnomer in real estate is there is this, as a lot of people will think, oh, there's this big check I get at the time of settlement. It's all mine. No, you've got to reinvest, 10, 20% of that back into your business because you've got to build up business to be able to obtain referrals. 5 to 7 years until you start to see referrals. I don't think it was till my 5th year that I really started to see a little bit more of a revolving aspect of the door, that people were coming back to me, or hey, I'm getting ready to sell. But that's also because I use a very strong CRM system that helps me to remember, because my day is going at 100 miles an hour like your guys. Your days are going at 100 miles an hour. You can't remember everything and every person. So I'm relying on my CRM system to say, hey, it's time to reach out. It's time to say hello. It's time to catch up. And I've also been trying to, at my age, social media is the arch enemy to me. I really wish that would go away, but it's also trying to use that social media as a way of, in fact, I have a client, it's just their dog, she had to abruptly had to put it down. I'm writing a card, I'm sorry. Those type of touch points keep you in front of people. And so I think that's where I would say has been my success. I meet people for dinner. I would go for cocktails. I am known around town as the espresso martini person. The one local restaurant, they actually call it the Chucktini. So it's definitely, because mine are made a special way, but I think you have to be engaged in your community as well, so that is a referral opportunity, because not everybody is going to be business. But if your name is in front of them at certain aspects or certain ways, or being involved in community organizations, they're going to say, oh, you're talking about a realtor? I know somebody. And that's what I think has been helpful for my success. Plus, I'm very engaged in real estate office in regards to establishing some things for our brokerage here when I came on board. I think that's another aspect I think agents need to realize. If you are in business, you do need to get out of your house. You need to go to an office. I know that COVID put a lot of people backwards and okay, I can work very remotely. Remote is good if you have a strong background in being able to manage your day. But if you can't manage your day and you need to go to an office to get stuff done, then you need to put that into your agenda. You can't sit around and drink coffee and eat bonbons and do laundry. You've got to be actively engaged in the business.
Love that. I try, especially in the off season of real estate, December, February-ish, I try and spend 2 days a week officing out of a local coffee shop. There's a lot of busy work that I need to get done, but it's also great to see people. And so I think that is so funny. You spend so much time at a cocktail place, espresso place that they named an espresso after you. That's how you know you're doing it right.
Yeah, my espresso martini is made with tequila, so
love it.
Very different.
Love it.
So, what are some of the common mistakes you think you see realtors make when trying to grow their business?
I run a meeting once a week in our brokerage for our brokerage here, and I said it today. They don't spend money. They don't spend money on advertising because they're so afraid I'm not going to get a return. And it's a cliche saying, failure breeds success. So if you don't try something and you don't fail at it, you don't make changes to become successful with it. If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah.
I think that's where a lot of it is. And I think that in my own team, I have battled with this device right here. People don't answer anymore. So immediately it's like, why should I make a phone call? They're not going to answer my call. You got to keep trying. Try different ways. There's a texting aspect on this device. That's where I think people do one phone call, they didn't answer, they're not interested. And sadly, it's a continuous call, text, mail. You got to find what your cadence is, but you can't give up. And I think agents give up too quickly on the leads that come in or those referrals because they don't get an immediate response.
Love it. Yeah. So is there anything unique that you do or your brokerage does to generate referrals and create new business from your database, maybe that other realtors don't think of? Or
one of the things that...
But before we get into that, the Outside the Box podcast is all about repeat and referral business. And great realtors know the key is serving their clients.
At BizBox, we believe your marketing should do the same. BizBox branded moving boxes are marketing that serves your clients when they need it most.
Printed on 2 sides, packed with valuable supplies and delivered directly to your clients, BizBoxes are permanent branding that keeps you top of mind long after the move.
With packages starting at just 5 boxes and free design setup, there's a solution for every budget. Visit bizboxinc.com, click free setup, and create unforgettable marketing in minutes.
Stand out with BizBox while your competitors end up in the trash. Now, back to the show.
One of the things I will say I do events for my business base. You know, we're having a big Christmas party at our local baseball stadium here next Thursday. You know, we invite not only our clients, but we invite our lenders, we invite our vendors to those things because they're also a referral source. BizBox has been instrumentally phenomenal for us.
Really?
It's interesting because I have toyed with doing this for 2 years. Literally thought about it because I've seen different things on social media and, you know, do I want to do this? Does it make sense? The response this has given me has been phenomenal. And so for me, that's another exciting aspect because now I'm seeing some of those boxes lay around their houses. I'm always in front of them.
Yep, that's good.
You know, and clients who are like, wow, this is so great. I didn't even think about boxes. Or I was just getting ready to go out and buy boxes. This has saved me time. I had one gentleman 2 weeks ago, he's like, what is this big thing that you just delivered? I'm like, it's packing boxes. Oh my gosh. His wife was more excited than he was because he didn't quite understand what was going on. But, you know, so I think you have to try to set yourself apart in every way you can, and just connecting, and you have to care about them.
So I was looking at one of your, I think it was the end of the year recap or something videos that you had done. I don't know if maybe it was last year, but, and I noticed you and your team were talking about several different, I guess, I don't know if they were necessarily outreach or community. There was different things you guys, I was surprised at how many different events you had. I think it seemed like there's a lot of charity events, Habitat for Humanity. And I think, I don't remember if there was a toy giveaway or whatever. So, I mean, are those things that when you talk about, I mean, is those type of things that help you guys, or is it just kind of an added benefit? Do you see anything from those charity events? So this is another thing that I think agents kind of fall apart on. Getting involved with like the Lancaster Habitat for Humanity isn't going to give me a sale that day because I went to that event or if I did something that day. It's build the relationship, continuing to do it, continuing to be involved. Those charitable events, you're trying to build relationship, and that's just the big thing. I don't see immediate response from it. Down the road, I do. It takes time. You have to build that. You're building trust that you're reliable.
That's the big thing. You have to build that. Hey, you can count on me to be there. Excuse me, to be there to help out when you need me. That's going to reflect in a time when those people need something for real estate. He's always there, or she's always there. That's the big thing. Excuse me.
Talk to me a little bit more about your Christmas party. You said for clients, vendors, lenders, all that good stuff. You said you rent out a baseball field, or what's that about?
Right. So last year I closed a bar, one of the local establishments. It's a top-notch restaurant here in Lancaster, the Belvedere. We closed that up on the second floor and had a humongous party there. Food, open bar, and it was phenomenal. Parking's a little bit sticky in our city, and you have to park in a garage. Our local baseball team, the Stormers, we have a Clipper Stadium. So what they do is the concourse of the stadium, they use that as a charitable aspect that all charity organizations or businesses can sponsor a tree for $1 amount and go in and decorate each of the trees. The owners of the stadium are, I think, I could be quoted wrong on this, I think they have one of the largest pinball collections around. And it's called the Silver Ballroom. We are renting that entire area out. And so people will be able to come to that event. But not only does that event there, they actually decorate the entire field with trees and lights that we will be overlooking. And then there is also a driving light show that they can get in their car and drive through. So we've established that we're going to have an event from 6 to 9 next 2 Thursdays from now, or no, next Thursday. And everybody's going to be able to do all that and have food and, cocktail. And it's just something to get people together, to have fun. And, it's not going to give me business, but it's going to keep my name in front of them for future business. And I can say every time I've done it, somebody inevitably will say, hey, we are thinking about doing this. It's a no-brainer.
Oh yeah, sounds like it. That sounds like a huge win.
It's not cheap to do those things. It's stressful because I'm a very, if you ever take the DISC profile test, I'm a 99D. So I'm very high, I went perfectionism, which is probably my worst trait. So I stress about making sure that everything is organized, everything is very professional looking, everything is very up to snuff in the way the presentation comes, because I think sloppy presentation also can send an incorrect message.
Sure. Is that something you do with it's your team specifically? Is it your brokerage that does it all together? Just
Me,
you?
The team. I do it for the team. Yeah, I do it for the team. And that's, it's another issue that I'm battling as I plan out my 2025, I can't talk. My 2025 business plan is, what do I want for the team? Because it's been very, very hard as a team leader to not become the bitch leader.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly like, hey, did you get this done? Hey, did you get this done? And you almost come up, you kind of battle as, I'm the bad guy, but you're trying to be their friend and help them along. And I kind of realized through the course of this year that I want them to be more successful than they want for themselves. Mm. And so I've had to kind of, there's been something that happened in our team in the past month. And I've had to take a step back and say, you know what? I can't worry about your success. I can't force you to be successful. If you want to be successful, I can give you the tools. I'm willing to take financial risks that most agents won't take. I'm here to help you. But if you don't come and ask, I'm not going to be out there pushing it. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't force him to drink.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you say that? So there's a bunch of pinball machines. Is that what you said? So that everybody can go and play pinball at the same time? Is that?
Yeah, there is actually, I don't know how many pinball machines are in this lounge area. They have free reign of every pinball game that's there. We are actually doing a contest. We're going to be picking one of the pinball games, and the person who gets the highest score is going to be getting a gift card to my favorite restaurant, the Belvedere.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm always promoting that restaurant. In fact, I just was, the owners, he and his husband were close friends, and he said, we always refer our employees, when they're talking about it, we're like, hey, talk to Chuck. So building those relationships within establishments is important. Showing support to those businesses is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. What do you think's the key to turning a one-time client into a lifelong referral source?
A phenomenal experience, making sure that you've done everything in your power to help them, to make sure that they're understanding everything. I think there's a lot of agents out there who are not forthright with the information that they deliver. They think about, and this is something our broker and the owner of our company has said for many times that I've been in meetings with him. Once it becomes about your paycheck, you're out of business.
Mm-hmm. Nailed it.
When you start to think about your own pocket before their pocket, you're done. Because they smell that. They smell that. And I think you have to be, I always look at it, I don't need this job for a living. I want to make money, don't get me wrong, but I don't need this job to survive. And I think if you have that attitude in a lot of ways, or you wake up every day, I remember one of my friends who's an agent for 30 some years, she said, every day I wake up, I'm unemployed. Whether I have 10 deals in the pipeline waiting to close, I'm unemployed every single day. So I think that experience that you give to people, making sure you're there, making sure you're getting back to them in a timely fashion, following up what you told them you would do, I think those are all very important aspects of referral, repeat business. That's how I base it.
Yeah, I love that. I always refer to, you said the clients can smell that when you're thinking about your own money. I call that commission breath. The clients can tell when that's what you're breathing out. And I found for me personally, the most impactful time in my business, the transition that I think that took me from, average to, I'd say good, we're working on great, is when the one deal that, was stressful. And, back when I was first getting going, I needed it to close. I have bills to pay personally. I get stressed. And so then that's when you start to teeter on the line of commission breath on, I want this to close because of me. Yeah. I got to the point in my career when I was able to say, whether or not this closes or not, it doesn't impact me. I'm okay. I want what's best for you. That's when I think my service to my clients went to a new level, because it was, that commission breath was like, it doesn't exist anymore. If this deal closes, great. If it doesn't, great. How can I help you?
Yep. Absolutely. For sure.
So, what advice would you give new realtors when, it comes to building their sphere of influence?
First piece of advice, don't be afraid to join a team. When I got in this business, I can tell you, you take your real estate test. Book smart, street smart are way different in this industry. I got dumped into, not sure I said dumped, I chose a brokerage. I'm in an office, and there you are, not knowing anything. And there's not a lot of support on some of these big name companies. They're trying now to become that more supportive because they're all wanting the agents. You need a CRM system. My very first transaction in my real estate world was a $675,000 cash purchase from one of my friends. And I didn't know how to write the freaking contract. And I couldn't get a hold of anybody. No broker was returning the call. The assistant wasn't there. And I had to reach out to another agent who had a team. And she's like, I will help you. So I would say, I understand you may not make as much in the business, but a team can help set systems up for you. That then you can build upon those systems when you think you're at a level that, okay, I'm ready to go out on my own. But you're kind of paying for some coaching, so to speak, with that commission split that's done to really set you up for success. So if I had to do it all over again, I would probably have joined a team.
Really?
To help me create more systems versus me doing trial and error aspects to find the systems that may work. That's one thing. The second thing I would say is get that phone book out of your, out of your phone and contact every single person and let them know what you're doing. Make sure you're letting if you have kids, make sure all of your children's friends' parents know this is what you're doing. Get involved. A megaphone, talk it up.
Love it.
And be involved in your brokerage. Attend every meeting, every training session. You're not too good to learn more. They do legal classes in our brokerage 4 times a year. And 4 times a year, I'm going to legal classes. Because every legal class, there's a question that's asked that I learn a little bit more, or it's expressed in a different way that I have a better understanding to take to my clients. So that's the big thing. Just because you're self-employed doesn't mean you don't have to be accountable to other things.
I love that. I think one of the biggest downfalls to real estate agents, but then also just self-employed individuals, is when you're self-employed, you think you don't have to do the things you don't want to do. And the biggest battle I fight it every day, is just because I'm self-employed and I don't want to do something doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. And I have to think through, okay, if I had a boss, would they tell me I need to be doing this? And if I did, there's a good chance, I would do it because I want to keep my job. But if I'm self-employed, I need to be disciplined in doing those things, even if I don't want to, because that's what a boss would tell me to do.
Yep. No, it's very true. You've got to get up and get out and do it. That's the biggest thing. You hear a lot of agents talk about they time block or they set schedules up. I've always been an entrepreneur who does not do a hell of a lot of time blocking, but I'm also one that knows I have to work to get where I need to go. And I also think there's a large number of agents that I think have started to go the approach, I work 9 to 5. I'm not available on the weekends. We have a brokerage right around our area here that you pretty much can count on never getting a hold of anybody on a Sunday. And I say this with love to all of them. You chose this industry. You knew going in what this could be. If I work 9 to 5, when am I going to go look at houses? 5 to 8, 5 to 9, or weekends. So you have to be prepared. You're going to work times that you don't normally find your friends working. Mm-hmm. So you have to really think about what you're going into this for. I personally, if I'm sitting at home, it drives me bananas. Mm-hmm. I have to be out of the house. So every day I'm up and out early. But I was raised that way. Justin, you said you have a family who's a business owning family. So one of the blessings that was given to you is you saw the structure and the work ethic that your family had. My father had multiple companies. My mother had multiple companies. So I saw, even though we had somebody that was in the house with myself and my brother, I saw the work ethic that you have to keep driving. And if it means you have to give up a Saturday because something has to be attended to, then that's what you have to do. And I think that that's what agents have to realize, especially when you're starting your business. You have to work to build it up. Once you get it built up and you start to get that referral system going, or you have a team that you can hand some things off to, that's when you can maybe pull back that element and say, okay, now I'm going to rest a little bit, but you still have to stay in front of it.
Yeah. And I get a lot of crap from my friends for, golfing during the week, or, I get to leave Fridays early and, I'll be at home early, and, everyone will see that and will harass you about those kind of things, but they don't see that, I stopped working around noon on Friday because it was a slow day, but I'm working 2 open houses on Sunday and I'm showing at 6 and 7 on Saturday night. And even though it's only 2 hours on a Saturday night, it's like, that cuts off any evening plans you thought you had. And, it's more of a lifestyle, it feels like. And I feel like a lot of realtors don't get that. They say, your schedule's flexible. You get to set your own hours. It's like, no, it means you're on call whenever the client wants you to set hours.
I was just going to say, I mean, they're not understanding the fact that at 9 o'clock when somebody's having a meltdown and they're calling you on the phone. I had a client, I can remember this 4 years ago, 2:30 in the morning, called me.
Ugh.
And I knew the type of client he was from our interactions. If this man was calling me at 2:30 in the morning, his head was on fire. And I picked up the phone, and for the next 45 minutes, talking him off the edge about his EMD, that he thought he was losing $25,000 if the offer didn't get accepted. And, you know, that's the stuff that you have to be willing. We don't love it. We don't love those inopportune times, but you have to be willing to do those things. And again, not everybody's cut from the same loincloth of what their drive is, but that's the part where I feel that I deliver value to my clients, being there when they need me. That's, again, but I think that comes from my upbringing too, always being available.
Absolutely.
Can you share your, biggest or most interesting referral success story that, you felt like contributed, or what you felt contributed to that success?
Can I share two?
Oh, please. Yeah.
I can tell you of a situation where there is a very high-powered luxury agent in our area who believes that they own every high-end listing around. And she had heard that somebody was selling a $2.3 million home. Automatically assumed it was hers. Basically went through the whole gamut. I walked in and the woman said, "This is the last person I'm going to list my home with." And she said, "If you will take the listing on, I'm giving it to you." And that to me was very interesting, because as big as you get is as humble you have to still be. And, I believe there are some very high-powered agents in our industry who believe they walk on water and everything is just going to come to them. So that would be my number one. My number two is going to be, I had worked in a transaction. I had a little over $1 million listing of a friend of mine who passed away. And the agent on the other side brought the buyer in. That buyer literally brought me a closing gift and has never worked with her agent again.
Oh, so the buyer,
The buyer's
not your
agent.
client, but the other client.
Yeah.
Really?
And so now she is referring friends to me from New York City who were thinking of moving into our community. It was just the interaction, the relationship that I built with them, and the trust that I built through that process. And again, it's also staying in front of them, going and meeting them for dinner, having cocktails, whatever the case may be. That's the biggest thing I think for referrals is you've got to stay connected. Meet them somewhere. Follow up on their daily lives.
Let me ask you this. This is a battle I fight every transaction, and I think you just answered it in this way. So I think I know your answer, but I'm going to ask you.
Go.
For all of our closings, buyers are closing on a new home. I love going to those closings. I want to be there for my buyers. I've been there the whole way. I'm there to hold their hand through the finish line. For my seller closings, and I don't know how it works in, is it Pennsylvania? Is that where you're from? Yep. I don't know how it works in Pennsylvania, but at least in Topeka, Kansas, we sign all of our seller docs ahead of time. I'll notarize them myself, drop them off. I can be there if I want to be there. I also don't need to be there because my seller's not there. They'll wire their funds or however it works. I'll pick my check up later. Right. With that in mind, knowing you have picked up buyers from, you've picked up clients from your listings, do you go to your listing closings for, that reason to?
I go to every closing. In fact, Chad, when you were reaching out to me, I'm dealing with a situation where I have a gentleman who was referred to me that was moving here from London. They're building new construction. Their settlement's getting moved again. And sadly, it's at the same time I already have another settlement scheduled. And I am mentally trying to figure out how the hell can I put myself in two places at once, because the ending experience is important. Because there's papers there, and if you're not there to help answer that last minute question that they see on a document, You have to finish, you have to finalize this. And I always tell my clients, my relationship with you is not done at this settlement table. I'm very direct about that. I will also say that I never bring a closing gift to the table.
Really? Why is that?
Because I think it's the most unopportune time to do that. If I walk in to the settlement and I have a gift for my buyers, you walk in, Justin, to the settlement with your sellers, but you don't have a gift for them. I've made you look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Or vice versa. What I try to do, I have a settlement right after this is over. I try to get to know my clients personally through the process, asking questions. I went to a conference with our brokerage out in Las Vegas and I'm going to butcher this man's name. Simon Selleck? Am I saying it? Or I don't know. I can never say his last name correct.
Yep.
But he said, too many real estate agents cookie cutter their closing gift. And so I have now tried to personalize my closing. I don't put baskets together. I do have a branded, very nice scent candle for their home. But like today, I found out that this gentleman likes bourbon. I'm putting a nice bottle of bourbon. But what I do is when we do the pre-settlement walkthrough, after they have left the property, I go back in. I have a Love Pop greeting card that sits on the outside of a branded bag that has all these little goodies in that I've got to learn about them through the process, and a gift card to go have dinner once they're settled.
That kind of reminds me, Justin was telling me yesterday that story about
you hit the nail on the head with what I am working through in my business currently is, doing personalized gifts go immensely farther than a stock basket, a cheese basket, a cake or whatnot.
A cutting board.
A cutting board, right. Personalized gift speaks volume. A cheese basket will be forgotten the day after it's eaten.
Yep.
But a personalized gift will be remembered forever. I had a client who I was showing him houses. We were looking at houses for probably over a year. And so I got to know this couple really well. It just what they were looking for and expectations weren't quite aligned. So it took a while. So I got to know him really well. Found out he was a huge Raiders fan, Las Vegas Raiders fan. And in Kansas, we're big Kansas City Chiefs fans. And so, I'd constantly razz him about it, going back and forth. And when we got to closing, I told him as we were doing our final walkthrough, I said, hey, I got a gift for you. Super excited about it, yada, yada, yada. And he said, well, it better not be a Kansas City Chiefs jersey, something. He's just joking. And we show up to closing, and it was a Las Vegas Raiders jersey. And he was so taken back, I'd remember that and that I would think about him and, take the time to order that because you can't find those in Kansas.
Yep, exactly.
And I promise you, every time he puts it on, he remembers who got it for him. It doesn't say my logo, has nothing about it, but it's just they know. Versus a cutting board, a cheese basket.
Yep.
Sure, it's nice thought, but it's going to be forgotten.
I think sometimes the real estate agents become over brandy with that kind of stuff, what I call the tchotchke stuff. The other thing, Justin, I do is if I was working with you and your wife, I'm going to find out maybe what her interests are. But if I know that you have a dog or you have kids, in goes a dog toy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, giving Build-A-Bear gift cards with the boxes for the kids. So they can go, something to give the entire family, because those little, I'm going to say what we may think don't mean anything, those little things mean a lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because I think it also proves to them this was not just a business transaction.
Mm-hmm.
You listened to what they were saying, you remembered what they were saying, and we use a CRM system called Follow Up Boss.
Yeah.
So if I was working with you and you said, I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I'm tagging Kansas City Chiefs, football. I'm putting all those tags that might be important related to you, that if something comes up like the Super Bowl, if Kansas City Chiefs go to the Super Bowl again, I can pull all the people who I've learned are Kansas City Chiefs and I can send them something. It could be a meme. It can be something to kind of, jag at them that I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, or whatever the case may be. You have to find that. And I think a lot of agents slide past those great opportunities to make connection points.
Yeah.
That's my big thing, knowing also when their kids are graduating from high school, all those pieces just add up. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
trying to get agents to understand that sometimes is hard. And I think they look at me and think, Chuck, you're such a bitch about things. But I'm like, I want them to see there is different opportunity.
Absolutely. And, that takes the customer experience from good to great. And, I always, every transaction, every relationship that I, handle throughout the year, I always think referrals aren't built on doing what you were paid to do. Referrals are built upon going above and beyond, doing something personal, doing something great. And I think personalized gifts and remembering things, being intentional is how you can easily go be great. And that's where referrals come from.
I take it back to a restaurant. You go to a restaurant that you like, not always because of the food. It's because of the people and the experience. Think about when you go shopping these days. You go to any of the high-end stores. It's the experience. They're handing you a glass of champagne when you walk in, or they're having a DJ outside playing music. That's what pulls you back, is what was my experience like working or interacting with that person? That's what's going to bring the referral and future business.
Love it.
That's good.
Chuck, as we wrap up our time, we like to end our segment on Outside the Box with some rapid fire questions. So first thing that comes to your head, hit me with it straight.
Okay.
Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com. Which do you use or recommend to clients?
I would say zero. But right now I do zero. But right now I do have a $2,000 per month spend that I'm experimenting with on something right now. But otherwise, zero.
Love it. Love it. Office or home office?
Office, 100%.
Yep, you hit on that. Knew that one. Instagram or Facebook?
I hate both. I am going to actually say YouTube.
Love it. Okay, YouTube.
This conversation was just in our office 2 days ago. We believe social media from Instagram and Facebook is going to disappear within 10 years.
Really?
Because, Justin, I don't know if you're married and have kids. Your kids do not want to do what you, mom and dad, are doing today.
Right.
So YouTube is not big yet. It's big, but not in the way we look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's going to be a different social media platform, but I think right now YouTube is where people are going to gather their information.
Love it. Podcast or book?
Oh, I'm 50-50 on that.
Give it to me straight. Pick one.
I'm going to go book then.
Book.
Or no, I'm sorry, podcast. Because
Podcast.
books sometimes, podcast, because books sometimes I can get a little lost in.
Love it. Audio book or podcast?
Podcast.
Podcast. What's the most impactful podcast you listen to?
Joshua Smith. I like listening to him. And I shouldn't say this because I'm not part of their brokerage, but there's a Keller Williams podcast out there that's pretty dynamite.
Okay. Good to know.
So I mean, from that end of it, I do try to just pick at little things. I'm not a huge podcast listener. I will tell you that. Because I'm older than I'm old. So I did grow up where you just always plugged into something like that. But those are the ones I'd like to listen to, but I try to pick the segments that I think I'm going to get something out of.
Yeah, absolutely. What is an underrated app that you have in your phone, business or personal?
Underrated app that I have on my phone. I think the underrated app, one from business, is the mortgage calculator. I don't think agents use it.
Yep. I have one. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And it's interesting. I didn't always do it, but I find myself using it more and more now. And then probably another one that doesn't get used correctly is probably social media like Facebook or Instagram.
Okay. Love it. Finally, if a listener wanted to refer a client to you, what are the local areas that you serve and how would they best get a hold of you?
So I serve all of South Central Pennsylvania, so like York, Lancaster County, Dauphin, Berks, all of those surrounding areas, and they can get a hold of me at my phone number is 717-696-1385 or Chuck at honabachteam.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Hey, Chuck, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.